The purpose of fasting is not weight loss. The purpose of fasting is to save time to be engaged in Krishna service more and more. To just hold oneself from distractions. That's all. Therefore, the purpose is very important. Now, you see how important it is to have a holistic disposition in our Krishna consciousness. Because you see here, although these yogis undergo excruciatingly torturous austerities, but still what they gain is nothing. Practically nothing. Although so much tapasya, so much hard work, but what is the gain? The gain is practically nothing. Why? Because the understanding is not holistic. They have not heard from a bona fide spiritual master about the Krishna Tattva, about the holistic understanding of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. And because they have not understood this, so much hard work and so less results. So then Prabhupada goes on to give equivalents. Prabhupada is telling the chanting of the holy names is pranayam for us. Is it right? Prabhupada made the point. Chanting of the holy names and is pranayam for us. So Prabhupada is giving corollaries and equivalents. And we don't need to do anything extra, out of the box, indirect. Directly we can be engaged in Krishna service, and directly it's going to be purifying for the mind and the heart. Sanat Kumaro Bhagavan Yada Adhyatmikam Param Yogam Tenaiva Purusham Abhajat Purusha Sabha. Thus, the best among the human beings, Maharaj Prithu, followed that path of spiritual advancement which was advised by Sanat Kumar. That is to say, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In this verse, it is clearly said that Prithu Maharaj, practicing the pranayama yoga system, engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as advised by the saint Sanat Kumar. In this verse, the words Purusham and Avajat Purusha Sabha are significant. Purusha Sabha refers to Maharaj Prithu, the best among the human beings, and Purusham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that the best man among all men engages in the service of the Supreme Person. One Purusha is worshipable, other Purusha is worshipper. When the Purusha who worships the living entity, thinking of becoming one with the Supreme Person, uh, thinks of, so when such a worshipping Purusha thinks of becoming one with the Supreme Person, then what happens? He simply becomes bewildered and falls into the darkness of ignorance. As stated by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 2:12, all the living entities assembled in the battlefield, as well as Krishna himself, were also present in the past as individuals and will continue to be present in the future as individuals also. Therefore, the two Purushas, the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, never lose their respective identities. Actually, one who is self-realized, engaging in the service of the Lord perpetually, both in this life and in the next. Indeed, for devotees, there is no difference between this life and the next. In this life, a neophyte devotee is trained to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the next life, he approaches the Supreme Person in Vaikuntha and renders the same transcendental devotional service. Even for the neophyte devotee, devotional service is called Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Devotional service to the Lord is never considered a material activity. Since he is acting on Brahma Bhuta platform, a devotee is already liberated. He therefore has no need to practice any other yoga in order to approach the Brahma Bhuta stage. If a devotee adheres strictly to the orders of the spiritual master, follow the rules and regulations, and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, it should be concluded that he is already in the Brahma Bhuta stage as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. 14:26. Mam chayoga vicharin bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who is engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here how the living entity in the Supreme Lord are eternal and therefore they are Purusha. So one who worships and one who is worshipped. And that is the eternal reciprocation of love which goes on. The misfortune of the living entity starts when the living entity stops serving the Supreme Lord. And harbors the desire to serve himself. That's where he gets bewildered. That's where he falls down. That's where all the problems of material life start. Service to Krishna is always liberating. That's what is being explained there. Prabhupada is quoting Mam Vicharenas. So a person who is serving Krishna, he is immediately on the platform of liberation. So that is the transcendental beauty of devotional service, that even in a neophyte, if he sincerely is trying to serve, he is beyond the words as long as he serves. He is liberated. So just by practicing bhakti, one gets liberation. And therefore Prabhupada is concluded that no other yoga is required, no other rigorous practice is required. Bhakti is perfect and complete. And you see, the beautiful aspect is this whole talk of bhakti is coming on the incidents. So the incident we mentioned in the Bhagavatam is that Prithu Maharaj followed the process given to him by Siddha Sanatkumar. That is bhakti, following a bona fide spiritual master. So you see, if you say, okay, what is that one point understanding of what is bhakti? Following a bona fide spiritual master is a one point understanding of what it means to follow bhakti. Is it not? And Prithu Maharaj is doing that. So the process of bhakti is quite clear. If you understand the depths and the depths and the multitude and the variegatedness of Krishna consciousness is all well and good. If you don't understand much, just follow a bona fide spiritual master. And life will be perfect. Bhagavad-dharmanaha sadhu Shraddhaya yatata sada Bhakti bhavati brahmani Ananya vichaya bhava. Maharaj Prithu thus engaged completely in devotional service, executing the rules and regulations strictly according to the principles. 24 hours daily. Thus his love and devotion into the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna developed and became unflinching and fixed. The word Bhagavad-dharmanaha indicates that the religious process practiced by Maharaj Prithu was beyond all pretensions. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma Projita Kaitavo Atra, the religious principles which are simply pretentious are actually nothing but cheating. Bhagavad Dharminaha is described by Veera Raghavacharya as Nivrittu Dharmena, which indicates that it cannot be accompanied by material aspiration. As described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anyabhirashita Shunya Jnana Karmadhyena Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktiruttama. When one who is not subject by or who is not inspired by material desires and is not contaminated by the process of fruitive activity and empiric speculation, fully engages in the favorable service of the Lord. His service is called Bhagavad Dharma or pure devotional service. In this verse, the word Brahmani does not refer to the impersonal Brahman. Impersonal Brahman is a subordinate feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And since impersonal Brahman worshippers desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence, they cannot be considered followers of Bhagavad Dharma. After being baffled in his material enjoyment, the impersonalist may desire the impersonalist may desire to merge into the existence of the Lord, but a pure devotee of the Lord has no such desire. Therefore, a pure devotee is actually or really the Bhagavad Dharma. It is clear from this verse that Maharaj Prithu was never a worshipper of the impersonal Brahman, but was at all times a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavati Brahmani refers to one who is engaged in devotional service of the personality of Godhead, to the personality of Godhead. A devotee's knowledge of the impersonal Brahman is automatically revealed. And he is not interested in merging into the impersonal Brahman. Maharaj Prithu's activities in devotional service enabled him to become fixed and steady in the discharge of devotional service without having to recourse to karma, jnana or yoga. So in Bhagavatam it is described that whatever Prithu Maharaj was doing was devotional service. Unalloyed devotional service. Prabhupada is quoting the definition of unalloyed devotional service. And Prithu Maharaj was simply following this unalloyed devotional service. And Prabhupada is telling the criteria is that one should not feel inspiration or titillation or agitation from material desires. That's one. The next one is Jnana Karmadi Anavritta. Yeah, actually, the highlight point here is, or we can say the correlated point here is that in bhakti, the stress is on performing activities of devotional service. as a very powerful and sure shot counter to this tendency of uh, fluffing the material desires, and getting rid of fruitive activity as well as jnana kanda, mental speculation. So to get rid of this fruitive activity, Prithu Maharaj is doing very rigorous austerities. And to get rid of this fruitive mentality and this platform of material desires, one should make sure that he is constantly engaged. One has to make sure that he is constantly engaged. So as we increase the engagement in direct Krishna service, we will see that we're going to get the strength to shun off material desires, and we're going to get the strength to get rid of the fruitive mentality and mental speculation. So if there is no sufficient engagement, it is going to be very difficult to get rid of material desires, fruitive activities. So engagement is very important. Therefore, Prabhupada based it on, you see, our Sharnagati, so Prabhupada, you know, how he established that our Sharnagati is based on a complete program of engagement in Krishna. Prabhupada many times talks about it in Purpose to Bhagavad. The complete program of 24 hours engagement in Krishna service. So by program, so by making a proper arrangement, by making a proper program of engagement, we can actually get rid of material desires and physical activity. So the formula is engagement, some or the other engagement. So the point is, you see, this is such a beautiful point. If a devotee always wants to be Sharnagat to the Supreme Lord, a devotee never tries to combat on his own strength. A devotee never tries to challenge the unwanted anarthas on his own strength. A devotee does not do any such thing like this. So a devotee simply wants to take shelter. And in that way he is invoking the higher powers to combat. That's the point. Is it not? So therefore, Prabhupada concludes this purport saying that Maharaj Prithu's activities in devotional service enabled him to become fixed and steady in the discharge of devotional activities without having to take recourse to karma, jnana or yoga. Okay. 6:11. Kasyaniya bhagavata parikarma shutra satvatatmanastat अनुशंस्मरणया अनुपूर्त्य ज्ञानं विरक्तिमाद् अभून्निशिते निशितेन येन चिद्देह संशयपदं निजजीवकोशम् by regularly discharging devotional service. Prithu Maharaj became transcendental in the mind and could therefore constantly think of the lotus feet of the Lord. Because of this, he became completely detached and attained perfect knowledge by which he could transcend all doubt. Thus, he was freed from the clutches of false ego and the material conception of life. In the Narad Pancharatra, devotional service to the Lord is likened unto a queen. When a queen gives an audience, many maidservants follow her. The maidservants of devotional service are material opulence, liberation, mystic powers. The karmis are very much attached to material enjoyment. The jnanis are very anxious to become freed from the material clutches. And the yogis are very fond of attaining the 8 kinds of mystic perfection. From the Narad Pancharatra, we understand that if one attains the stage of pure devotional service, he also attains all the opulence derived from fruitive activities, empiric philosophical speculation, and mystic yoga practice. Srila Bilamanga Thakur therefore prayed in Krishna Karanamrita, my dear Lord, if I have unflinching devotion to you, you become manifest before me personally. And the results of fruitive activity and empiric philosophical speculation in the religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation become like personal attendants and remain standing before me as if awaiting my order. The idea here is that the Jnani is, by culture of Brahma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, struggle very hard to get out of the clutches of material nature. But a devotee, by dint the idea here is that the Jnanis, by culture of Brahma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, struggle very hard to get out of the clutches of material nature. But a devotee, by dint of his advancement in devotional service, automatically becomes detached from his material body. When the devotee's spiritual body begins to manifest, he actually enters into his activities in transcendental life. At present, we have contacted a material body, material mind, and material intelligence. But when we become free from these material conditions, our spiritual body, spiritual mind, and spiritual intelligence become manifest. In that transcendental state, a devotee attains all the benefits of karma, jnana, and yoga. Although he never engages in fruitive activities and encourages preparation to attain mystic powers, automatically mystic powers appear in his service. A devotee does not want any kind of mental opulence. Automatically mystic powers appear in his service. A devotee does not want any kind of mental opulence, but such kind of opulence appears before him automatically. He does not need to endeavor for it. Because of his devotional service, he automatically becomes Brahmabhuta, as said in this verse 1426. Mam chayoga vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatit yaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. One who is engaged in full devotional activities, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Because of his regular discharge of devotional service, a devotee attains the transcendental state of life. Since his mind is transcendentally situated, he cannot think of anything but the lotus feet of the Lord. This is the meaning of the word samsmarana anupurtaya. By constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord, the devotee immediately becomes situated in Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva refers to that platform which is above the modes of material nature, including the mode of goodness. In the material world, the mode of goodness is considered to be the representative of the highest perfection. But one has to transcend this mode and come to the stage of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, where the three qualities of material nature cannot act. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following example. If one has strong digestive power after eating, he automatically lights a fire within his stomach to digest everything, does not need to take medicine to aid his digestion. Similarly, the fire of devotional service is so strong that a devotee does not need to act separately to attain perfect knowledge or detachment from material attractions. A Jnani may become detached from material attractions by prolonged discussions on subjects of knowledge, and may in this way finally come to the Brahmabhuta state, but the devotee does not have to undergo so much trouble. By virtue of his devotional service, he attains the Brahmabhuta stage without a doubt. The yogis and jnanis are always doubtful about their constitutional position. Therefore, they mistakenly think of becoming one with the Supreme. However, a devotee's relationship with the Supreme becomes manifest beyond all doubt, and he immediately understands that his position is that of eternal servant of the Lord. Jnanis and yogis without devotion may think themselves liberated, but actually their intelligence is not as pure as that of a devotee. In other words, the Jnanis and yogis cannot become factually liberated unless they become elevated to the presence, to the position of devotees. Aruhya krichena param padam tatah patantiya dhovanadra yushmadangraya. The Jnanis and the yogis may rise to the highest position, Brahman realization, but because of their lack of devotion unto the lotus feet of the Lord, they again fall down into material nature. Therefore, jnana and yoga should not be accepted as the real processes for liberation. By discharging devotional service, Maharaj Prithu automatically transcended all these positions. Since Maharaj Prithu was the Shakti Avesh incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he did not have to act in any way to attain liberation. He came from the Vaikuntha world of the spiritual sky in order to execute the will of the Supreme Lord on earth. Consequently, he was to return back home, back to Bharat, without having to execute jnana, karma, yoga. Although Prithu Maharaj was eternally a pure devotee of the Lord, he nonetheless adopted the process of devotional service in order to teach the people in general the proper process for executing the duties of life and ultimately returning back home, back to Godhead. Yes. So Prabhupada begins this on this very beautiful note that the queen is followed by maidservant. The queen is devotional service. The queen is devotional service. And all these uh, all of the things are maid servants, wealth, opulence, scholarship, all of them are maid servants. So the maid servants, see, for a person who is a devotee, all these maid servants will naturally come. The queen comes, the maid servants come. But the devotee does not get enticed by it. Why? Because he is using everything in Krishna service. As soon as it comes, he offers it fully to Krishna service. Therefore, a devotee does not worry about it at all. Wealth, opulence, a devotee does not worry about it at all. He's simply engaged. So therefore, actually, all we need is to seriously practice Krishna consciousness. The fire of digestion burns off everything and the food is digested. Similarly, actually, if the intensity of Krishna consciousness is strong, that fire of Krishna consciousness will burn all conditionings, all inhibitions, all mental blockages. So in fact, actually, to burn the mental blockage, the only short solution is to